As an associate professor, to be invited to join Professor Nobi's expedition of Castle Kandar was the highlight of my career. I could never have imagined that it's also where I'd find the woman of my dreams. From the moment I saw her, the professor's daughter, Annie, took my breath away. In that instant, I knew that I'd follow her into the mouth of hell.
Hello everyone, this is Associate Professor Gaines Nobi, Department of Gaming. I'm going to be talking about the Army of Darkness tech. Now, I didn't come up with this tech. I believe it was started by its 3 a.m. buddy, and it was brought to my attention by Empire and also Memeindemon. So I know I'm shouting out a lot of names, but I don't want to take credit for this tech. But I did learn some things using it and ways survivors can counter it. So since survivors can counter it, I want to tell people how to counter the counters. So let's talk about the builds that I came up with here. So for Plague, I'm going to be talking about why I have the thing spec the way I do. So as you can see here, I have points into Infernal Revenue because you can't leave the area of where you spawn the army. So it's important that the little bit of warps you can get will give you as much Infernal as possible. Also, we have a greater capacity for evil so that we can carry more Infernal. So once we start, we could start putting everything up. Now, I find that the basics are not very good for the Army of Darkness tech. The Army of Darkness tech is basically summoning an army. And I will show a couple clips of me doing this. I think the elites are the best for this. So we want to have things spec'd into our elites. And Blight. So that they do less damage. The Blight lasts longer. Extra Blight stacks. More damage from Blight. And I'm going to explain why you have Putrefied Potion picture as well. So our elite's going to be a better bread and butter what we're going to summon. So I originally had 2 points into here. So it costs less, but if you just summon Cauldron, you could just summon it that way as well. And then thanks to this, I don't think I need to spec into this anymore. This is not going to be like a book phase win. This is just messing around. So if you lose, you lose. So the thing is, it's just fun to do this. I don't know how the survivors feel, so if you face a survivor, and give me your opinion on like how it would feel. So the reason we have Putrefied Potion is because we need to put Cauldron down, and survivors can do finishers on the elites. So they just spam immortality frames. So we use Putrefied Potion to spam it while in Cauldron, and we don't like use as much Infernal Energy. We have max capacity as well for it, so that the balance bar can't be destroyed on our units. So they can't do finishers. And they have to fight through the army, not just chain finishers until the point is done. This is also going to be helping with Blight because our units are going to be putting Blight on them as well. Corrosive Blast. The Stomp is good too, but I don't have an extra point for that. I could pull the point from here, but if it does go to book, I need to spin to win. Even though my units might die quickly, the spin is going to help me because it's going to be hard for them to hit. The only people that can really kill me are hunters. So yeah, that's exact. This is kind of why I have the points here. The way you want to do this is, for threat level, you want to down the survivors in the beginning. Don't worry about the first point. Let them get the first point. Get cars to block off the entrances and start summoning the units inside. And once they come to the objective, you move the cars. Be sure you destroy the cars too as you're moving them. You don't have to destroy them, but put them in a situation, like the car in a way where they can't, the survivor can't get into it and just run into all your units. And I'm going to explain what didn't see this, but it would have been a good tech for survivors to do, because really good survivors do this all the time with cars. So this is the Plague build. Like I said, you want to have Putrefied Potion. You want health on your elites, because your elites are your bread and butter. You want greater capacity for evil and Infernal Revenue. You don't really need this because you're not going to be using elites. So you could put this point somewhere else, but I'm just putting it this in case for book phase here. If it goes to book phase. Like I could just take this here and put this here. Like this. I think it would be better. But honestly, I just need it for book phase anyways. Like, the whole point of this is not for us not to do anything, and just have our AI army do everything for us. And just have fun watching being like an overlord, or like, you know, kind of role here. So, let's go to the next demon, which is Warlord. Now, I think Warlord has probably the strongest army to do this tech with. Bombing is really important here. Like, I should take points out of Lingering Gas, actually. Let me do this. I had a fart build, you know, so that's kind of why I had it like that. Okay, so we don't need max range here. So we want our ability as back as fast as possible. We want the units healing. We want to summon as many units, and we want damage for our units. Greater capacity for your Evo again. And Portal Authority basically, so it doesn't cost that much. Unfortunately, Infernal Revenue here does not get you enough Infernal Energy, so 1 is enough here. And so, yeah, this is going to be our kind of our bread and butter. Usability as much as possible. Don't use boss. I made the mistake of using boss, and it was pointless. Like, you should just be, the whole time you have your army up, just keep summoning and using ability. And then use an elite or basic. Boss is only good for trapping survivors and farting on them. So, in my opinion, and then book phase, obviously, against warriors because they can't hit her because of fart. That's kind of why I had Lingering Gas there. So, yeah, this is kind of the build. And I could put points into here, but this is a 2-button input. And since it's a 2-button input, the AI isn't going to do slam. So they're only going to do vomit. So that's why I have this, and I just get fear for XP and stuff. Once again, you have to down the survivors, spec into Infernal Energy, basics, and elites. Those are the 3 ones you want to spec into. And then start summoning on second point. Now, this could be a tech for the book phase too. You could, if there's a room close to like 30 meters close to the dark ones, and you didn't use this tech in the beginning or in the second part of the game, you could start spawning as they're heading to the dark ones in the room, and then move the car, and then have all your units. That way you don't have to, you know, use your portals to rotate, and you're not going to have, you know, you're not going to be cooled down at any part of the book phase. But I didn't do that either. I just started doing this deck, and it's been a lot of fun. So let's talk about Necro now. Skip Pup, because I haven't have MP5 yet. So once again, we're going to go for damage for our basics here, and we want as many units summoned as possible, summon as many basics as possible, and it's basically like a resurrection build. Our unit healths here. Come back stronger, because we're going to be using resurrection, because unfortunately there's no way to protect the balance bar for our units, so survivors can just change finishers. So Flautus is going to be very important, and using boss is going to be very important. The good thing about this army tech is that if you summon the army in a house, that army can protect Flautus as well. So sometimes the army gets stuck at the door, and since they get stuck at the door, it's hard for survivors to deal with Flautus. And you could just keep summoning, and they have to fight through Flautus. Not to mention if you summon boss and stuff, and then you could put the debuff on them as well. I think Bone Rage is needed. I'm kind of like half and half on this. I feel like when you have an army with Necro, they still don't do anything even with Bone Range, but I need to do more testing with this. Like I just said, I just started doing this the other day, but I already know what kind of builds would work with this tech. So, yeah, we need Healthy Bones, we need Flu Force. We don't really need Flu Force because we're going to be protecting it with our units, but I just like Flu Force. in general if it goes to book phase, because this is a book phase kind of build anyways. Like, but it's not a good, like, against good survivors, your boss are gonna die too quickly for this to work. So then you're wasting, let's see, 5, 8. Yeah, you're wasting 9 perks just to, you know, be effective on book, and that's kind of a lot if they kill your unit, your boss really quickly. And you kind of need to spec into Seismic Smash because Seismic Smash does more damage on book. So I'm sacrificing that to get the army going here, and that's 30% more damage on book. So let's go to Necro. No, Pup. So we have self-destruct here because the units are going to explode. We want our elites to lightning strike as much as possible, and we want our units as healthy as possible. Power possesses for the elites, and we want to collect more orbs here, and we want the orbs to spawn fast. And the reason we want these two is because Puppeteer has like the worst infernal energy regen, and the worst infernal energy just capacity next to Necro. So this is kind of the build here. We want our portals back as quickly as possible. Now, you don't have to use a car with Pup to block the door, which could be a good thing. When you split and do Clown Posse here, which I'm going to take these points out because, yeah, your units die in one hit from a gunshot, so it's not even worth it. If this was increased health on it, then it'd be better. But, so let's do that for test of time. That way it takes longer for them to do the point, so we get some more units. I know we have to be on point, but yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I need to test this as well. I don't play Pup that often because it's an easy win on book. So yeah, Lightning Strike is kind of important. My whole thing is like, okay, you split, block the door, and then summon elites and basics. But now I'm thinking Car is just better, so then I could just summon the elites inside and just have a ton of lightning strikes hit the survivors, and they have to melee all the elites instead of like one-shotting it because of split. And I think this was told to me like a long time ago, so I can't give credit to it. But Insane Clown Posse, I think when you possess the clone, it doesn't increase the damage of it by 15%. It just considers it a normal possession. So it's not like you can split this, have Lightning Strike increase damage, and then have Heavy Damage Elite, Puppet Master Elite, and Kandarian Fury. So you're just increasing lightning by a shit ton. But once again, I'm not sure. I haven't done testing on Pup because, like I said, I don't play Pup. Because I think it's just a easy win on book. At least the other demons is like feels like a 50-50. So yeah, that's the kind of builds and stuff, and I'll show the clips I have from my Twitch that kind of shows this tech. I didn't use Puppeteer. I used Warlord, Plague, and Necro in these clips. I'm going to explain what the survivors could have done to stop things from happening and what I need to do in the future to counter it. So this tech isn't just like, oh, summon an army and just let everything do. You have to actually do stuff still as demon for your army to be effective. And like I said, I'll explain it in the video, in the clips. So thank you for watching. So as you see, the car was destroyed there because the survivors took the car and ran into some of the units. So some of my units died there. But I think a better strategy would have been just to stay behind the car and just shoot the units inside. So kind of like the strat where a survivor gets behind and in front of the car, so the demon can't destroy the car while they're driving it. It's sort of that kind of strategy, and it causes all my units inside unable to get out as well. Then I would have to switch to the other car, but This strat is very good against a one-door building. So if you're going to park a car in front of the doorway, do not park it forward to backwards. Drive the car side to side so you can either back up or drive forward to get the car out of the way. Also, it's just better to destroy the car as well. The smaller cars are better for this strat because it's harder to summon inside the room. And as you can see, my game is starting to lag here a lot. Like the frame rates are just dropping because of how many units are there. So it gets really hard to possess something and trying to do something like down the survivors. It's just better just to have your units there to do it. And so in this way, Necro is not the best for the strategy, even though it is, like you can use Resurrection and stuff. But the reason it's not, because they could just chain finishers if they're very effective here, as you can see. Warriors is just chaining finishers. So I believe Warlord and Plague are the best, and I'll explain why in the clips I have of them. So this strat is kind of good to protect Flautist, because all the units are kind of stuck in there as well. I was experiencing that. I was getting my units stuck, and you kind of have to possess them one by one and move them out of the way so the units can move out. So then you're just losing units anyways. As you see, I wasn't even trying to possess that tree, and I just lag. So yeah, here's all the units kind of just stuck in there now at the doorway. I need to possess the one in front and then move it, and then position the units so that they file one by one out the door. But like I said, this was like the first time I tried this, so I was not experienced in building this kind of army this way. In the next clip, I'll explain how I learned from my mistakes here. So on this point, I had a lot more time to set up. I downed the survivors early in the game, so I was full max basics and full max elites and full max infernal energy. Now, I placed the card the correct way this time, side to side. I could have drove forward and destroyed the car, but I just moved it because the survivors could have just got the car and just ran into the units. As you see, we have so many units in here. I almost crashed my game. But the mistake I make is summoning boss. And the reason I make this mistake is because I'm not expecting a boss damage, nor am I expecting to fart damage. I was making as you can see, I should have just, used my aura so that they couldn't destroy the balance bar and they had to fight. As you see, the sheriff was getting hit by so many units there, but I'm just peppering her with damage. I'm not going to down her. And so I stay in boss for too long when I could be just summoning units because I have portal reduction costs and also less time to summon. So as you see, we have a ton of units here. And I'm just making the mistake of staying in boss. If I had damage in boss increase, this would probably be a good idea, but I do not. And so I'm like, okay, I'm staying in boss way too long, and this point is almost done. And my units aren't doing anything because I'm not using my ability. So they're not really attacking here, as you can see. With your ability up, they attack 10% more frequently. So I was like, okay, I need to drop this. I'm just wasting time here. It's better if I just use a basic than and an elite. So the build I showed earlier, I wasn't using. I was just using, try and gain as much infernal energy here. As you can see, I'm kind of lagging, and then my units are kind of blocking me from doing damage. So it's just, like I said, it's better just, if you're going to do this strat, to have like a Dungeon Master point of view. So this is the Plague one. I summon a bunch of basics and elites, but honestly, I should have just done elites. As you can see, they get stuck at the doors, so you have to possess and like move the units so that they can go out. Let's just try to grab the basics here. So I can just move one by one here. And the AI isn't that well. I got he tried to depossess me, but yeah, I was just trying to move the units. So just start summoning and stuff. The AI is just awful. As you can see, they're just like in this room as well. Like that's where I did the spawning. But somehow they got into the other room here, which just does not make any sense to me. They were just walking all over the place. So two people go down, and this is what you have to do with you have to actually summon boss here and use potion. I don't use I don't know what to call it, where you can like throw potion without wasting energy. So that's why I summoned Cauldron, stayed in Cauldron. I didn't have a build where I increased the effects of potion in this video, nor did I have it costs less infernal energy to use with boss. So I'm using a lot of infernal energy doing this. That's why I'm staying in Cauldron. But throwing potion is important because that's going to stop them from doing finishers on the units, your army. As you see, he's just swinging away trying to do a finisher, but he can't. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. I think the elites are the best to do this. Like I shouldn't be summoning basics, just do elites. And it'll waste